Hello, everyone, and welcome to African Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Obafemi Awolowo. Are you interested in learning about people-oriented leadership quality you can apply in your business and personal life? Then make sure you subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends who might need it. Now let's get started with today's episode. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us in this episode of the podcast. Today we are going to be looking into the life and legacy of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, a Nigerian statesman with a strong impact on his people. Who really was Chief Obafemi Awolowo? What was his kind of personality? And what can we learn from his leadership style and influence today? With me to reflect on this question is Adetunji Temitope, the founder of God's Own Arm Foundation, Nigeria. Now let's start with the lifestyle of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. And of course, we are going to be looking into his educational background, his philosophy of leadership, and how he has imparted his own generation.
The lifestyle of Chief Jeremiah Awolowo begins here in Nigeria and also in the United Kingdom. Chief Awolowo was born in the month of March 6, 1909. He received his early education in the Mission School of Ikene, that is in Abeokuta, Ogun State, and also proceeded to Ibadan, where he often worked to actually raise money for his study because of his passion for education. And also, he once served in the area of teaching as clerk, as a money lender, and also as a taxi driver. His organization and political inclination became evident as he moved high on position in the Nigerian Motor Transport Union. And on that background, some of his political attributes and integrity began to, expose for people around him to see that truly he is a light. Just like the comrade term that says, Balanga Lupoko Lupoko Chi, which means let he who bears the light shows the way. I think there are some of the few things that I can actually say about his early background.
Do you also know about maybe his primary school days, the people he went to school together, and what the people in the community remember of him in those early days?
Yeah, he was his upbringing was directly proportional to that of the likes of Chief Olabisi Onabanjo and I think Akintola also. But little was actually revealed about his primary school days, except for the fact that we were made to realize that the school he attended was called the Mission Schools of Ikene, Abeokuta. That is in Ogun State of Nigeria.
All right. Thank you for that, Temitope. And tell me about his formation, education, and his early opinion. How did he begin to form his early political opinion? Of course, you made mention of his primary school and all that, but when he began to form his opinion as a young man politically, of course, the type of Nigeria we had then is completely different from what we have today. Can you share something with us in that line?
All right. Chief Obafemi Jeremiah Awolowo, he actually grew up to be an active journalist, and especially in the area of editing and publication. He grew up in Nigeria, and after his high school, he got a passion to actually proceed to the University of London to put in for law. But it was rather unfortunate during that era because of the issue of financial constraint. He was not able to raise up the tuition fee to actually study law. And he later on proceeded and he approached a business mogul then by name, Chief Odutola. He approached Odutola not actually in the physical by writing a letter to make a plea to this great business mogul. And in his letter, he was able to reveal to Chief Odutola some of this, vision, if the great man can actually subscribe to it. And I think I can also quickly go through the letter that Obafemi Awolowo wrote to Chief Odutola. He said in the letter, he said, having a degree is not my goal. I hate to be a government or mercantile employee. Otherwise, there are opportunities for me here to get a suitable and a well-paid job under the government or one of the mercantile houses. As you know, however, I once become an employee of government. He said, however, once I become an employee of the government, it will actually hinder my political and my journalist career. I have therefore resolved that under no circumstances will I take up such employment. So in his letter, he said, dear Mr. Odutola, I think it will be an exceeding saving of time and more business-like if I avoid all sweet preliminaries and go straight into the object of this letter and say that I'm writing to ask you to be good enough to lend me a sum of £1,400 free of interest for 12 years. It is a staggering figure. More staggering indeed does it become when it is realized that I am whom I am asking for this huge amount of money, especially when there is no security provided for this money. Accepting my good faith and my brains, which again I'll value only as long as I continue to breathe the breath of life. Nevertheless, I here proceed to outline in brief why I want this big loan from you. Actually, to foster my ambition in becoming a lawyer. One great ambition of mine since my boyhood stage is to be a lawyer, a politician, and a journalist rolled into one. I cherish politics and journalism as a career, and I desire advocacy as a means of livelihood. For you, we agree with me that a politician or a journalist who has no money with which to support himself and family comfortably, next year I will be taking the final big commerce examination. Having a degree is not my goal. Once I'm able to have my LLB in the University of London, it will be a blessing not to Africa, also Nigeria, and also most especially to you, Chief Odutola, if you are willing to invest so great amount of money to a poor boy like myself. If you do this great favor for me, not only myself, but God will be grateful and Africa will be grateful. I shall not cause whatsoever to grumble or to blame you, but the risk is great, since this is a very selfish request. I enclose herewith a stamped address envelope for a reply to be sent to me under registered cover. Signed, Obafemi Awolowo. That was the letter that Chief Jeremiah Obafemi Awolowo penned down to Chief Odutola. And some of the things that actually got my attention captured in this short message was that Chief Awolowo happened to be the first youth. When he wrote this letter, he was just 34 years of age. You know, somebody was actually calling for help and making the Chief Odutola to realize the risk attached to helping him, that should, in the course of his death, in this course of study, the Chief Odutola will run at loss. You know, I was able to see so much a great transparency doggedness and commitment, a young man who has been able to mentally circumnavigate into his future.
But why would he make such an offer to a very wealthy man without any collateral and yet able to detail the letter in such a way?
The reason why he was not able to have a collateral was then Nigeria was still under colonization. And just as a young man in his 34 years old, who was actually looking up for a huge amount of money then, £1,400, that is the best thing he was supposed to do because there is nothing to actually stand for his collateral because he was actually from a very poor background. No family member, no person to actually serve as a backbone. I want to believe that is the best choice he was able to make then. But on the side of the Chief Odutola, it was actually rather unfortunate that the Chief Odutola denied him of such a great privilege. But nonetheless, the good side of the story was that after a year and some few months, Chief Obafemi Awolowo was able to raise up such amounts and he proceeded to London, where he successfully bagged his LLB. And not quite long, on his return back to Nigeria after some few years, not even up to 3 or 4 years then, he became the regional cocoa coordinator for West Africa. Later on, after the death of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Chief Odutola made some thing known to the press that then he was not even familiar about this young man, but later on in life, they were able to trade diplomatically that actually expanded the cocoa plantation in Nigeria and also in Africa.
Okay. Now, what do you think of his main political career? Like, what did it represent in terms of political agenda as a leader?
Actually, after receiving his bachelor degree and in commerce, that is in Nigeria, and also after which he has been able to bag his LLB, his degree in law, he happened to be a nationalist. Yeah. And in 1944, after he was done with his study of law, he founded the Egbe Omo Oduduwa, that is the Society of the Descendants of Oduduwa, who happened to be the forefather of the Yoruba clan, to actually promote the culture and unity of the Yoruba people, one of the 30 largest ethnic groups in colonial Nigeria, and to ensure a secure future for them. During that period, Awolowo also wrote the influential part to Nigerian freedom. That was his first book that is actually published, in which he made his case for the need of a federal form of government, an independent Nigerian to actually safeguard the interests of each ethnic nationality and region, and to create a sustainable basis for Nigerian unity. He also called for rapid progress toward self-government. And not only because he was a lawyer and a publisher and a nationalist, a significant political figure, he also held then the premier share in the Western region in 1954 until Nigeria got complete independence from the UK in 1960. Chief Awolowo took a leading role in the constitutional conferences conducted in London and Lagos, which opened the path for Nigeria independence. And under his political career, a native of Ikene in Ogun State, he started his career like some of the well-known contemporaries as a nationalist, as I mentioned earlier, in the Nigerian youth movement, in which he rose up to become the Western Provincial Secretary.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, what do you think really differentiated him from other people around him, calling them politicians, or even when he came to London to study?
Okay, I think I will be able to pitch that a bit with his main political career. Because presently now, it is rather unfortunate that we have too many politicians in Nigeria at this point of time who claim to be leaders, but truly they don't know what it means to be a leader. They keep cross-carpeting from one political party to another because of their political self-interest. Now, Awolowo was actually responsible for much of the progressive social legislation that has made Nigeria a modern nation. He was the first leader of government, business, and minister of local government and finance, and also the first premier of the Western region under Nigeria's parliamentary system from 1952 to 1959. He was a political leader and also a true father of the nation of Nigeria. He was actually called the political Moses of our time. Chief Obafemi Awolowo believed that Nigeria should invest its resources into education and develop infrastructure. Nigerian statesman who was a strong and influential advocate of independence, nationalism, and federalism. He was also known for his progressive views concerning social welfare. Papa Awo, as he was formerly called, organized the free of charge primary education for all pupils in the Western region. Besides, he founded the first TV broadcast in Africa in 1959. He provided electricity for Nigerian regions using earnings from the highly profitable cocoa export. He also led a children's free healthcare program. Papa Awolowo created the name for Nigerian currency, which is the naira that we are spending up to this moment.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obafemi from African Leadership Podcast. Thank you for listening and talk to you next time.